Well, how's everybody doing? Welcome, you guys. Welcome to this special live stream edition of Far Out with Faust, the podcast. Also, a live stream tonight. I'm excited you guys are here. Let me know what's up. I just realized that I forgot to share the link with my Instagram channel. I'm like, duh. But I hope everyone's having a good Friday night. I hope you guys are well. My God, I got a sunburn or something. I got to stop going out in the sun. But it's good for you, right? I hope you guys are doing great. And I'm sure you've noticed the title of the show. I want to talk to you guys about some of the things that are standing in our way, that we may not realize it. And I'm hoping you all will stick around. Hey, Bob. Bobby, good to see you, brother. Awesome, man. Great to see you, man. Much love, you guys. Hey, Nick, what's up? So I spent the weekend at a transcendence retreat, and I got to hear some incredible speakers there. Some amazing things came out. I heard Darryl Anka speak again. He gave us an hour and a half preview of his upcoming course that he's offering. And it's essentially his formula. For those of you who don't know who Bashar is, Darryl Anka channels an entity known as Bashar, which of course means teacher in Arabic. And Darryl has done an incredible job, whether you want to believe that he's channeling an ET or not. Hey, Betty, good to see you. Awesome. Great to see you guys. You don't need to believe if he's channeling an ET or not, or an extra dimensional. You can listen to his teachings and be like, holy shit, these are profound. Let me see what happens if I apply them to my life. And they are without fail if you apply the formula right. But so I was listening to him. I just listened to Greg Braden's podcast on Joe Rogan. That is, I think, in my opinion, a small miracle that Joe Rogan had Greg Braden on and let him speak for 3 hours. That's a must listen. They talk about everything important that's going on right now. I have a whole library of Bashar's teachings, Bob. When I got into channel material, I just devoured. Hey, Flicks, great to see you. I just devoured everything Bashar, all his best stuff. You can say what you want about the channeling community, and I know that it's more populated than ever, but we have had some of the most profound metaphysical teachings come from that community, dating back to Edgar Cayce, dating back to Jane Roberts. If you have not read Jane Roberts, I don't know how iconic work called Seth Speaks, The Validity of the Soul. I'm actually rereading that again. I love channeled material. When material is divinely channeled, every word is just exquisite, and it will resonate with you when you find something that is meant for you. You'll be reading it or listening to it and just getting goosebumps and excited and getting lit up, or crying in your bathtub. It'll just resonate with your soul. Your soul will recognize that it's found a piece of the puzzle that it had been looking for, and I love that. I remember reading Conversations with God and just weeping with joy because it was so powerful. I knew my soul was meant to find that material. But what's up, Nacho? Good to see you. Nacho, did you change your name? Was it always that? I don't even know if you can change your name. But incredible lessons that I've garnered, right? I know it's been 2 weeks since I've been on a live stream, and I wanted to share with you guys some of those things. And, oh, cool, Nacho. It's good to see you, man. So highly recommend Greg Braden's podcast on Joe Rogan. 3 hours that you will not regret a single second of. God, it gives me hope that Joe Rogan has taken, he's the most popular podcaster in the world, absolutely. And he just had one of the most profound and enlightened researcher, scientist, enlightened dudes on his channel. And he sat there and was just like listening so well for like 3 hours, because Greg is just, filled with, Greg could talk for days, But I mean, talking about everything from our DNA, which, if you guys have been following me a while, you've probably heard me talk about, all the evidence that we are a hybridized species is in our DNA, and scientists know it, but they won't teach the public about it because they don't want to interfere with the control systems in place, including religions. And that being what it is, we are left to wonder and contemplate Darwinism, which of course Darwinism has its place. But one of the things Greg talked about, which I think is perfectly appropriate to begin this podcast with, is the fact that our chromosome 2, our second chromosome, chromosome 2, which is responsible for our big brains, our incredible vast spectrum of emotions, our ability to communicate complex sounds and sing, all those areas of our brain that make us human compared to like 98% of the other DNA that would make us a chimpanzee, because chimps don't sing, even though they're almost identical in DNA to us. Chromosome 2 shows, and this is in the science books, published, a, quote, ancient fusion of telomeres. Now, telomeres always appear on the outside of the strands, right? They do that because telomeres protect against the trauma. That's what they're there for. But in chromosome 2, we see two telomeres smashed together. Now, how do we know that's out of place? Because it's the only chromosome that we have ever witnessed that looks like it's stuck together. It's like taking an oak tree and grafting it to an apple tree. It's that obvious. How do I know that? Because these days we have CRISPR, and we know exactly what chromosome looks like if it's been grafted together, because we do it when we play with the different genes of animals like dogs and stuff. So we know what it looks like. And we knew this in the 90s about our own DNA. But scientists didn't want to acknowledge or implicate themselves in what the answer could only be. And that is some kind of intervention in our evolution. And that explains why Darwin's theory falls flat on its face when it comes to humans. It's great with everything else, but with humans, we have the missing link. It's not a missing link. It's just that no one wants to excuse my French, no one wants to freaking bother with the explanation because there's been an intervention. And that's why we show up on the planet with this DNA 250,000 years ago and not before. And there's, they would have you believe that was just an accident. And that's why they hide things from us, my friends. That's why they hide skulls in the Smithsonian, and they don't want you to know certain things. They keep things quiet, right? Anyway, what am I whispering here? CRISPR, nacho chips, flicks. Why am I beginning with this? Because we are so much more than we've been told. And we have this incredible ability to create our reality, but we can only do so in the confines of our beliefs about ourselves. And this is why people have trouble getting over the final hurdle. This is why people struggle so much, because they don't understand what they are. And we're taught a whole series of things from the moment we're born about our incredibly flawed nature. You've all seen the movies. Humans are a virus. They're a plague on the planet. The part of Darwinism that was hijacked would tell you that this is a dog-eat-dog world, survival of the fittest, which isn't true, and not the observations that Darwin made. Those were the observations that the elite who hijacked his work to turn it into a kind of corporate mantra for people around the world. That was their belief. Do you believe in the final moments heading up to the shift? When you say the final moments, Nacho, what are you referring to? And when you say the shift, what are you referring to? Because that can mean any number of things as well. Hey, Krista, good to see you. It's just me today. I hope everyone is cool with that. Listen, I'm going to say more in an hour and some change than probably would hear in dialogue with someone else anyway. And we'll return to our previous format next week. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. Greg Braden, our chromosomes. And then, so at the same time that this chromosome 2 was grafted, which gives us our ability to be human and have emotions and complex language, chromosome 7 also made an incredible change, coincidentally, at the same time. And, oh God, chromosome 7. So that was responsible for the other thing that makes us human? I'm drawing a blank. Maybe it was our ability to, I don't know, I want to say music, but I'm falling short. I might have included some of it in chromosome 2, but both things shifted inexplicably at the same time. One is an obvious graft, and you can read about this. It's in a published journal. I think it's, I'll look for the title of the journal. It was published in '97, and scientists concluded with, and I quote, there has been an ancient ancestral fusion of our chromosomes. And they didn't want to even put their name on the study because they couldn't say who or why or what, and they didn't want to. But that's, I learned that from Greg years ago when I first started learning from him. What's up, New? Good to see you again. So what's standing in your way? Why are we stuck in the same loops that we're in? Well, first of all, you have to look at your belief systems, because it is only your belief about who you are and what you're capable of that is going to be getting in your way, one way or the other. When you parcel it down, it's always the same, right? God's children DNA, I'm missing something. Oh, and Nelfim experiments, yeah. So, and every ancient text has this intervention somewhere in it. The Bible talks about the giants and the fall, and they all make reference to it. And so this is what people get hung up on this. Whether you're talking about angels and demons or extraterrestrials, and these they're very much interchangeable, because we don't know what they were looking at back then when they wrote what they wrote. I have my opinion, and we can only surmise. God willing, the truth comes out one day, although the truth these days could come out and people would never believe it anyway. But my point is, getting back to the title of this podcast, overcoming the final hurdle. So when we're stuck in a loop and things are not working out for us, so it often has to do with a belief that we have, or an attachment to the way that this should work out. And this is the problem with attachment, is it absolutely narrows your creative ability to manifest probability. When you're attached and you have a rigid way of like, this is the only way this can work out, then you don't leave God, source, the universe, any way to surprise you. And this is the biggest problem people run into with when they go and they're like, yeah, manifesting is bullshit. It's all woo-woo. It doesn't work. And anyone who's manifested as much as some of you have, as much as I have, knows unequivocally that it is real. It is not a phenomenon. It is a human trait. When God made us in its image, his, if you will, her, if you will, whatever you prefer, when God made us in its image, it gave us an individuation of itself, a spark, the same creative force that keeps your heart beating every minute of every day, that keeps the 50 trillion cells in your body doing exactly what it needs to do for you to take your next breath. That same spark is the spark that gives you the ability to create and manifest events in your life. And the only problem is most of the human race has no idea of this spark. They think it's something far outside of them. They think if they want something to happen, they have to pray to someone or something to get it to happen. And that's a belief conflict, because the answer is always right here, my friends. Let me see. Where was I? Hey there, howdy. And then he's in a very real, living, like digital, I don't know. I'm limited edition humans. Anyway, all right, I gotta stay focused. Stay focused! I have ADD, guys. Duh. Love and blessings, Monica. Welcome. So, oh God, what was I saying? Yeah. So my point with with all this is that when you're stuck in a repetitive pattern, then it's time to take a look at the beliefs that are running the program, because many of them can be subconscious. And so an example of that would people associate money immediately with manifesting. But their beliefs about money may come from the old teaching that, money is the root of all evil. And maybe they were raised with that. And that's a subconscious belief, but it's a powerful one. And it'll keep you from money. Absolutely. If you quietly, maybe without your consciousness realizing it, believe, and we're indoctrinated into the notion that money is the root of all evil and not stupid people, then your subconscious is not going to lead you to the treasure that's buried behind the rainbow. It's going to lead you as far away from that as possible. That's how the subconscious works. The subconscious is our GPS, my friends. So what does that mean? That means that you better get very familiar with what's going on, in the fine print and the instructional program that you were given. Because we all got one. To live on planet Earth and be raised by people means you are programmed. These days, kids are more than programmed by their parents, they're programmed by their screens. The boomers were programmed by the freaking news, obviously. That's why they get hung up. No offense to any boomers. My God. I feel like the only boomers in the United States who know what's going on are the ones that have tuned out of the news and tuned into me. And I'm proud to say that. And there's a few of them. I'm actually, I'm friends with a few of them. God bless them. They're incredible. They've realized that the bullshit they see on the news is not true, and that they can find truth in other places and spend their time far more productively and inspirationally, reading and learning, no matter how old they are. I love that. So back to what I was saying. Beliefs. But Bashar talks about the formula, and he talks about pursuing your highest excitement. And the people who are willing to do that, who are willing to pursue whatever it is that excites them, as not just as a job, but because if you love something, you'll get good enough at it, I'm sure, to make money doing it. If you're willing to take the risk, right? And by following your highest excitement, you're putting yourself in a state of alignment with your heart and joy. And that is an abundant mindset and an abundant vibration. But most people are, sadly, I don't think most people who are listening fall into this category. But I'm one of those boomers. Betty, I love you, Betty. You're awesome. You've been awesome from the time I met you. Well, I mean, digitally. The problem, well, what was I saying? I got to stop getting distracted. Yeah, I don't know what I was saying, but let's go back to the attachment part of what I was saying, because attachment is a big thing, and then we'll circle back around when the thought comes back to me. The formula. There it is. Okay. So by following your highest excitement and doing so without attachment, without being concerned about the results, and following it as long as you can until you find something that excites you even more, maybe, right? And by doing that, you end up putting yourself in such a state of joy. And I know it sounds crazy because people are convinced that we're here to work a fucking job at a car dealership and make as many sales as we can so that we can buy a nice car ourselves, and that at the end of that life, you're going to be what? Happy? There's no amount of money that's going to make you happy, first of all, period. Abundance comes in a million forms. And money is probably only on top of the list because of the shape society's in and because of the fucked up beliefs that people have been indoctrinated with, scarcity beliefs. And we live in a society that would have you believe that everything is scarce. Now, I wonder who is the design behind that. I think we all know, and everyone who's been listening to me for a while knows full well. I could rattle off 10 families right now. They want you to believe that. They want you to believe that the world is going to end soon, that they're trying to pop off another war. You know, they're trying to convince our young people that they're going to need a microchip just to compete in society. They're trying to steal what makes us divine. And that's what Greg Braden talked about so eloquently in his podcast with Joe Rogan. And for those of you jumping on late, I was highly recommending Greg Braden's podcast, which dropped a few days ago with Joe Rogan. I think it's a small miracle that Joe Rogan had Greg Braden on. And if you haven't heard of Greg Braden, I can recommend one of his books to you that will blow your mind. It's called The Divine Matrix. And if you do know Greg, and you want to see more of him, if you have Gaia, which I do, of course, I should be an affiliate. I talk about Gaia a lot. Greg has a show on Gaia called Missing Links. The first season is phenomenal. I've watched a couple of seasons, but the first one is really incredible. You can learn so much about reality, about this world, the truth about this world, true history, everything from the climate change agenda, and what's really going on with the planet and with the atmosphere, to healings, to Greg spent time everywhere, all over this planet, and he still has a remarkable head of hair, which he's become known for. The number one liked comment on Joe Rogan's podcast, because Greg is 70 and he has this hair. Everyone who knows Greg knows he has great hair, right? That's what they say about him. And the number one comment liked on Spotify for Joe Rogan was, Joe Rogan got the old Wolverine before Alex Jones. And everyone thought that was the funniest comment. He does have great hair for a 70-year-old guy. I hope my hair looks that good at that age. Anyway, as I was saying, wait, let me catch up on my comments. I'm sure CJ wants to tell me that the earth is flat, and yeah, same old shit. Yep. Thanks, CJ. Thanks for chiming in and typing the same thing you do every week. Anyway, back to more important matters. So what else, you guys? I mean, what are some of the things you guys tell me that, and if it's not too personal, and if it is, maybe just give me something that is along the lines of that you've been waiting to happen, or hoping would happen, or praying would happen, and just has not, that kernel has not popped yet. It for whatever reason, the oven's on, some of the other popcorn is popping, but this one kernel doesn't seem to want to go for you. I mean, if you give me an example, I can tell you possibly what may be going on with it, if you would like. If not, I can of course continue to rant all night, and I will. But yeah, so it's important to remember when you vision boards are great, right? People have vision boards, people have goals. But what's more important than a vision board, because a vision board can be devoid of emotion, and your emotions are very powerful. Your emotions are what make you uniquely human, right? And we have a full array of them. Of course, the most powerful emotion is love, and some of the most dangerous and potentially harmful emotions that we hold on to are the lower vibrating ones: fear, trauma, hate. Those get stuck in the body, right? The problem is when we're running programs, subconscious beliefs that will keep us from what we're trying to manifest. Because then you're like, God, what's the word? You're like a kid who is trying to run the same race as everyone else, but your training wheels are on. And the training wheels are going to slow you down. You got to work your way out of them, right? Like the stream, everyone. Oh, thank you, Nacho. Yeah, like the stream, everyone. Sounds like a line from a movie. Attachments are a big thing, right? Subconscious beliefs are the other thing. If there's something in your life that you've been working towards that has not happened, it's only it is trying to make its way to you. And there is one thing in its way, and it is you. It can only be you, because what you are seeking is absolutely seeking you. I promise you. And the moment you realize that it's already here, and you sit down and you relax, it will arrive for you. If you're not attached to the way in which it is delivered, it will arrive. Now, if you're holding on to attachment, to how it's supposed to get here, what it's supposed to look like, and you're going to reject anything that the universe delivers you instead, then you're never going to be satisfied. But if you understand that part of the formula is letting go, because the more you want something, what? The more you're separate from it. And that separation creates the wrong vibration for you to manifest something into your life. The more acutely aware you are of something you do not have, as opposed to being incredibly grateful and filled with joy, knowing that what you have asked for has already arrived, the difference between the two is even starker than night and day. But one feeling will bring you everything and anything you can desire, and the other will keep you from everything and everything you desire. And that's the way it works. Bashar speaks of it, of course. Disclosure of ETs would change everything. So speaking of that, Bob, as an aside, my friend, my brother, Bashar had a t-shirt on at this conference retreat that said 2027, everything will change. And in the everything, the E and the T were much bigger than the rest of the letters. I love that. It's because it makes it obvious what he's talking about. So Bashar believes that 2027, that we're going to have a full disclosure, open contact of sorts, because he said, the time has come where we're making such a mess of things that, well, the secrecy is doing more harm than good now. He said, and of course I've echoed this many times, of course there's protocols and ethics and guidelines, and they're intergalactic. When you're introducing yourself to a new species, you don't just land and create chaos. You have to go through channels. You have to go through their leaders, especially since they've given their sovereignty away to them. That's us. Hello. And so, our government has had meetings. Other governments have had meetings with these ETs. That's what they do. And they decided to keep it quiet. Everything about it quiet. Let's see. Cody, good to see you, brother. What do you think of Atlas? Is that what that says? I can't see what do I think of? Oh, I don't know. I can't read. Oh, what do I think of aliens? Man, I got to get my glasses checked, Cody. Maybe try writing it again, but this time put the final word in caps. Sorry. I just made an appointment to get my eyes checked. But so Bashar said, and he made a remark, it was hilarious. He said, it's going to be a lot like, when the kids have been playing in a way that they shouldn't be, and the parents walk into the room. What happens then, And I was like, fucking tell them to come sooner. Tell them to come like tomorrow. Oh, Atlas the asteroid. Oh, so Cody, if you're referring to the asteroid that they keep trying to bill, run headlines and say, this is a spacecraft coming to attack us, I think that's just echoes of Project Bluebeam. I think that they're trying to get ahead of what they know is coming. Because if we know, if psychics and channels like Bashar know, then you better believe that they have their own people who are like, if we're going to pull the false flag with the aliens plan, we're going to have to do it before they get here. You guys know they're always cooking up a false flag, and they're always looking for the next way to distract and divide. Look what they did to Charlie Kirk. I mean, fucking atrocious. Just and no one is asking the right questions. There's no true investigation going on. Don't even get me started on Kirk. You know, I'm sure Erica knows whether he's in heaven or Valhalla. That's all I'll say about that. Ask Erica. She knows everything. I'm sure of it. That much I'm sure. I'm not sure whether he's alive or dead, but it's bullshit anyway. I feel bad for Charlie Kirk either way, because Charlie Kirk had too much integrity and was too naive to be allowed to roam free, whether in physical or not. That is the fact about Charlie Kirk. I didn't know much about Charlie, but after listening to him, I'll tell you what, I liked him. I liked him after hearing him. I would have never followed him while he was alive because I don't watch reality TV and I don't believe politics is the solution to fucking anything. And if you do, then man, you're missing the plot, you know? Let's see, Dev Vahali, right? And then I heard a whistleblower, not to get too tabloidy, but I heard a CIA whistleblower say that Valhalla is the code word that they use for the witness protection program for people who are too incendiary, too big to be allowed to ever go back into society, at least before they can be reinvented with a new personality, a new face, a new history. Valhalla is a community where these people are put, undisclosed, obviously, but that's what it's referred to, Valhalla. And what did sellout Kash Patel say? We have the watch. See you in Valhalla. You know, interesting choice of words, don't you think? Considering Charlie wasn't Norse, he was Catholic. Yeah. What a fucking shit show. Reality TV at its finest, my friends, with a touch of blood and trauma. Unplug from it, man. It's all a distraction. Get back to what's important. Listen, each and every one of us, and this was Greg's message too that I loved on Joe's podcast. The way we change this world is to change ourselves. We change what we understand ourselves to be, because what we've been taught is extremely limited. And most of us are running around with beliefs that are not serving us. Beliefs about what we're doing here, beliefs about where we're going to end up, beliefs about where this planet is going. These are fear-ridden, scarcity, toxic beliefs, and they are keeping you from everything you are looking for. They're part of the problem. So you have to be willing to really, and for me, this meant closing my eyes and letting the pond still and getting really fucking honest with myself about who I was, what I was doing, and what I believed. And until I did that, nothing changed for me. I was trying to manifest all kinds of egoic external validations. English, Father Mucker, please. English, Father Mucker. Can you English, please? I have no idea what you're talking about, John. Yeah, anyway, until I was willing to do that and also change my beliefs slowly but surely about myself, about who I was, what I needed, and what I was doing here, nothing changed for me. And then what happened was all those things that I thought I wanted, that whole list changed remarkably. It went from being very materialistic, very identity-driven, pretty superficial stuff, to everything that means something on this planet. The true legacy that you're going to leave, my friends, is how many lives you've affected while you're here. That is our legacy. Everything else is bullshit. How many lives have you touched? How many people have you helped? But you first have to help yourself. It's impossible to help other people until you've truly helped yourself. And that means doing some of the work that you've been avoiding doing. The only real work worth doing. Everyone puts the horse before the cart. I did for years. You're way too busy to be meditating, way too busy to be taking that yoga class, or taking care of yourself. What you're really saying is, I don't love myself enough to take care of myself, or I was never taught to. And that's the sad truth. Yeah, I'm pretty sure John is a troll. But the secret part of the recipe is being willing to detach, right? So that's huge. That's a big part of the formula, and people get hung up on that because they don't realize, they're like, well, I'm living this way and I feel great, but but this thing still hasn't shown up for me. Well, let it go, and it will, period. Let it go. What did Rumi say? Rumi said, what you are looking for is also looking for you. And that is so true. And anyone who's had an experience where they were willing to just let go of the outcome and watch reality shift before your eyes. And every time that you guys, I want you to understand, so every choice that you make, every day, every second, you have the opportunity to make a conscious choice about yourself and the way you're expressing yourself by what you're doing with your time. Physical reality demands physical action, right? You can have all the intentions in the world. What do they say? What do they say about the best intentions? Yeah, that the road to hell is paved with them. Where's hell? I think it's not far away from Valhalla. I don't know. I'm not big into Norse. Maybe that was Odin's sister, daughter. I don't know. I don't get caught up in the whole religious mythology stuff. Anyway, it's been tough 5 years, Bob said. Completely reawoke. Our lives have become a total lie. And Bob, again, that's because of what we're taught. That is not exactly our fault. Most of us are living lies because we were taught them. Look at what's happening in Gaza. Look, those people, the Israelis are taught one lie after the next about themselves, about their victimhood, about what has happened to them throughout the ages, including up into World War II. And then they're taught that the enemy is the Arab. The Palestinians are Arabs, and they're not human. And many of them subscribe to what is called the Talmud. Now, the Talmud, not that I believe in the devil, but if there was a book written by this so-called devil that everyone loves to blame things on, it would be the Talmud, to put it bluntly. It's an atrocious book. But the problem is, some of the people who are in the government in Israel subscribe to the Talmud. That is their Torah, and that's why you see a lot of American Jews, even Hasidic Jews, who they're the only ones who are outspoken against Israel, because they know that Zionism is not Judaism, not in its purest form. And the Talmud is, my God, don't even get me started on that. You don't want to know what that book says. But it should, my point with this is, they're raised with all these misconceptions, all these false beliefs. And how is that working out for them? They're perpetual victims, and they make sure of that. Like if no one's looking, they'll punch themselves and say, ow, ow, you see what has happened to us? And now we must take revenge. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Their beliefs about themselves. Think about this now for a second. As above, so below. What is for the micro is for the macro. The individual for the society. You have a couple million people in Israel who are taught that they are hated by the world from the time they're babies, that the whole world is just waiting to persecute them only because they're Jewish. And that this place, Israel, is the only safe place for them because the world hates them because they're Jewish. They're taught that, and their collective beliefs are literally before our eyes making it true. That's how powerful beliefs are. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is how it works in the co-collective, in the co-consciousness that is also creating reality. They're literally making what they teach themselves, which is bullshit, all of it bullshit, true. What's going on with the world right now with anti-Semitism? Oh, I don't know. The word doesn't really mean anything anymore, but you know what I'm saying. The whole world is conflating Jews with Israel. And that is exactly why the Rothschilds chose Palestine and the Jewish people. So everyone is buying hook, line, and sinker into the ploy, into the plot. And it's easy to do because everyone is pissed off about what's happening. And I understand that. You guys know from my Instagram account and my Facebook page that I have not been quiet at all about what's going on in Gaza, not since day one. And that's a whole nother live stream. But my point is, look at how their collective beliefs about themselves have quite literally reshaped the world's opinion and beliefs about them. That is how powerful we are, my friends. That is wild, but it's true. Too cool. We create by choice. Choose victory then. That's right, Bobby. That's right, brother. I believe the devil look at what's going on around. Too cool. Listen, believe in yourself, my friend. The devil's not doing what's going on around you. That's man. That's humanity. It's easy to pawn off responsibility. And again, we're taught to blame. We're taught to abscond with responsibility. And if every human being did the kind of work that we've been talking about, then this kind of, it would never go on because we would not be cut off from our empathy. Is there any way to get in touch with you? Nacho, you could email me at my YouTube channel name, Far Out with Faust, at Gmail. Shoot me an email if you want to get a hold of me, man. So, guys, you're welcome, brother. So, don't let mythology and misbeliefs run you into a state of despair and misery, because you can't manifest your dreams from that state. If that means turning off, you guys don't watch TV. Even Betty, I know, doesn't watch TV anymore. If you're still with me, Betty. Even the boomers who listen to me do not watch TV. I'm going to go to bed with a smile. I'm going to believe that. I don't want to believe anything else. And if they do, it's only to tune into like Jeopardy or Family Feud. I'm giving away my age with those game shows, huh? God, we used to watch Jeopardy as a family, and I was always good at it. Yeah, I like Jeopardy. I never wanted to go on it, but I did enjoy it at home. Oh yeah, so unplug whatever you have to do. Don't get caught, what do they call it? Doom scrolling, you know? Don't doom scroll. And if you find yourself doom scrolling, change your algorithms, right? Go to your search and click on type in inspirational videos. Click on a few. Type in, I love these. Type in reunions, like long-time reunions, whether it be with a man and a lion or a father and a son. I love watching the videos of when our vets, when our soldiers come back after being away for years and their kids are waiting for them. Those videos they just take my heart and shake it all up. They just leave me in such tears and remind me of what life is all about. Watch those kind of videos. If you're going to spend your time scrolling, then do it watching something, wonderfully inspiring or funny. And you can. And that'll change your algorithms, right? Because our algorithms they're going to bring us what we've been looking for. And they're always listening, okay? Ridiculous, the fine print. Let me see. Love Gaia. Yeah, Betty, me too. I'm a big fan. So that's another thing that you can do. Listen, I've been paying attention to what's happening in Gaza, but I can do both. I don't get bogged down by it. I understand what's happening is wrong and it's atrocious. I understand that I can only make my voice heard and spread awareness that, you're not going to convince anyone of anything. You can come at them with enough facts to win a court case, and people who are indoctrinated into identity politics, and you add a little religion to it and an ethnicity, forget about it. You're never going to convert them, okay? If they believe that God has a chosen people, sorry, it's just so fucking funny to say, God has a chosen people, or that God does land deals, then they're too far gone. They're not worth arguing about. You know what I'm saying? There's no amount of documentaries or research you're going to present them with that's going to be like, you know what, son of a bitch, I no longer believe God is a chosen people. You know what I mean? Like, it's probably a little too late for them. Worry about yourself. Focus on what's important. Get back to what's important. Get back to doing the things that you know you need to do to be happy. The things that you've been putting off doing every day. If you're just getting up and going to work, getting up and taking care of the kids, getting up and living each and every day for someone other than yourself, you're going to end up fucking miserable and resentful. I'm telling you right now, that is a path to depression and anger and broken relationships. Don't fall into the trap. You have to take care of you. I understand mothers, fathers, I understand. I have children. But you have to remember that there's a reason why they tell you to put your mask on before you put one on your kid. Because you may not make it to put one on the kid if you don't. And it's the same thing with life and everything else. You have to take care of you, period. And if that means, getting up, going someplace, doing what you need to do, going to the gym, making sure you have time for you, it's the only way you're going to be a good anything to anyone. Or else you're just going to be miserable. You're going to be resentful. You're not going to be present. You're going to be resentful. There's a big difference. And then you're going to be guilty about it, which sucks as well. My father alternated between both. He would be away, and then he would feel bad about being away, and he would take us all on a trip for a week, and then he'd be fucking miserable the whole time because he was stuck there with us. None of those is optimal. Optimal is being present. And from a state of presence, you can become more aware of what your thoughts are, what your beliefs are, and then you can start to realign them in a way that's going to bring in those things you've been chasing or that you feel have been evading you. Because they haven't been evading you. They've been trying to get to you. And that's the truth of the matter. But your GPS has taken you in a meandering route until you keep going by them or missing them, and they keep missing you. You need to reprogram the GPS and get clear and aligned with your path. And in that state, Greg Braden mentioned this, and I talk about it all the time. We have neurons in our hearts, right? You guys know that, right? They discovered 40,000 neurons in the human heart. Neurons like the ones we have in our brains. Now, what does that tell you about the human heart? It tells you that the heart has its own mind. So when somebody says, oh, I know it by heart, it has a little different meaning now, doesn't it? And you can know things by heart. And the beautiful thing about tuning into this knowledge, instead of just staying stuck in this one, is that the heart, unlike the mind, unlike everything else in this freaking planet, is not polarized. There's no duality in the heart. That's why the heart knows no fear. The mind has its hemispheres, right? The heart doesn't. And there's a mind in the heart. They call them rose neurons. That's the nickname. I forget the real name. But 40,000 neurons in your heart. And they're communicating all the time with the neurons in your head. And if memory serves me, they found a few in the gut as well. Now, isn't that something? What does that tell you about all the Eastern traditions that talk about the Dantian and knowing things here? And what does it tell you here, right? It tells you a lot. It tells you a lot. They don't teach us that in school, though. They're letting our children flounder about because they don't care. They just want them to be consumers and workers. Consumers and workers. The meaning of life is up to you to imbue into your children and into yourself. You're not going to get it from society. You have to look for it. And when you find it, everything you're looking for is going to find you. That's my experience. That's why I'm talking to you now. That's why I love not only doing this work, but trying to live my life in accordance with what I now know, trying to remain open-hearted in the face of the shit show that is happening on planet Earth. I walked up yesterday to take a shower, and the word that came out of my mouth before I had a thought was humans. Which is funny and ironic because I am a human. Well, as much as you are anyway. But, humans, we're so unique and wonderful and crazy and blind in so many ways. We're so mesmerized with our five senses that we forget that the biggest part of us, the part of us that's plugged into the all and the all, can you please say hi, Millie? Hi, Millie. Happy now? The part of us that's plugged into the all, right? The part of us that is beaming into this body and animating it. The part of us that still has adventures when we go to sleep. That part of us. The part of us that's not going anywhere. The part of us that was here before we were born. That's going to be here after we're born. That part of us. That's the part of us that is plugged into the greater electromagnetic spectrum. More of reality, right? Let me see what my brother Bobby says. Like the dude said in the green mic, I'm tired, boss. This crazy time I dragged. I hear you, man. He was a great actor. What was his name? Oh, he worked for the same coach I used to work with. The man who set me on the spiritual path I'm on. Larry Moss, his name was. The big guy. Huge. I'm tired, boss. John Coffey. No, that was his name in the movie, The Green Mile. I can't remember his name. Not Ving Rhames, the other dude. God, he was so awesome. What a great role. No, man, I hear you, Bobby. I hear you. But listen, do what you got to do to renew, brother. Do what you got to do to reinvigorate. And that goes for everyone. You got to take care of yourself. You're not going to be the healthiest, happiest person that you can be if you're not doing the things you know you need to do. Whatever it is. And if you're like, well, if you feel stuck and you can't, then it's time to really start to examine your beliefs because you need to reprogram them, right? How do you do that? How do you reprogram? Well, you can go to a hypnotist and pay big money and see if that'll work. Tell him what you want to believe, or you can learn to meditate and reprogram yourself. I mean, literally, if all else fails and you wanted to take a longer route, you could record yourself saying the affirmations of the person you want to become and listen to it as you go to sleep every night. And that would work. If you did it for any consistent amount of time, it would work. You could reprogram yourself. You could just try it as an experiment. It's literally, why do you think the pharmaceutical companies run 4,000 billion ads every night, all night, every other commercial you see on network TV? And I only watch network TV to watch in awe and hilarity these ads because they're so fucking insane, and the acting is so bad. And I was an actor for 20 years, so I laugh at the acting, and then I marvel at the side effects. But they always play them after 9-10 p.m. Every other commercial is a 30-second to a minute pharmaceutical ad. Now, why do they do that? I'll tell you exactly why they do that. It's not by accident. There's a reason why it's illegal in every other country on the planet, with the exception of Australia, I think. They're not allowed to play them at night. You know why? Because they know what I know. And that is when you are in a state of almost sleep, you're nearing a theta brainwave state, which is a state of high suggestibility. when a hypnotist is like, you are getting sleepy, look at the, what are they doing? They're slowing your brainwaves down so they can hypnotize you, so they can plant suggestions. Well, what do you think the pharmaceutical companies are doing? Hello? And then you're like sitting there and watching the thing and they're like, ask your doctor about that, ask your doctor about that, and you're like, I should. The next day you find yourself asking the fucking doctor about, it's about something about the shingles vaccine. Yeah, it's called programming, my friends. That's how it works. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. Okay. So, what else can I share with you guys? You tell me how else I can be of service to you, my friends. Polymath, good to see you. Yeah. So listen, if you watch those commercials at night, make sure that you're aware that they're trying to program you. They're all trying to program you, but at night specifically, they're aiming for you, right? They want you to wake up being like, oh God, I need the shingles vaccine. Listen, if you're like me, and this is just where I'm at, and you've done as much research as I have, then you're never going to be interested in getting another one of those again, ever, no matter what. Like, even if they tell you the world is ending, unless you get this, you tell them where to put their thumb, okay? Like, don't believe them. Should go without saying. Anyway, let me take some comments and questions. Connect to source. That's right, Bobby. That's right, brother. That's what I do it every day, man. Some people pray. I meditate, which is my form of prayer, and I do it every day. Every day. Half hour, an hour. Today I did about an hour. And then I ran a mile. I've been getting my back into shape. I had a slight back pull. I was lifting weights like a fool, and instead of doing what I normally do, which is box. And so anyway, I ran for a mile. I'm trying to get back into get everything well oiled again, but it's so important. You need a way to connect to source. Connecting to source will renew you in every way. It'll renew your immune system. It'll renew your love for life. It'll remind you of what you should be grateful for. Connecting to source resets everything. And people get addicted to heroin. They get addicted to every kind of escapism, whether it be biochemical or habitual. It's all the same. They're looking for a way to unplug. The opposite coin of that is they're looking for a way to feel. Right? There's two sides of it. Depends on what side you fall, or both, right? I mean, what is an orgasm? The ultimate kind of out of body, out of brain experience, right? Like, tell me if someone who's going to describe what heroin is like. It's going to be very similar. It's a complete unplugging of everything. What do you think meditation does? Have you guys ever seen that woman who does that fucking TED Talk about the time she had like a massive stroke? And she does this blows my mind, right? This woman, she talks for an hour and she was a doctor, so she's like having a stroke. She realizes she's having a stroke, and she's like lucidly recording everything that's happening to her. Tell me if you remember this, right? And the whole thing, she talks about like the profundity of it was like when the part of her brain that is kind of plugged into everything external shuts off because of the stroke, how bliss everything got for her, and how all of a sudden all her anxieties, being a doctor and realizing she's having a stroke, just all went away. And thank God she survived to tell everyone that when you shut that part of your brain off, everything is great. She got a TED Talk. She probably won a fucking award for it. She almost had to die. I got news for you. You don't have to have a stroke. Learn to meditate. Learn to unplug. Learn to plug into source. You don't need to die and have a stroke and do a TED Talk in order to experience it. You don't need heroin. You don't need any of those things. You don't need alcohol, whatever it is. You can access it. People who seek those things out of compulsivity are looking to fill a big hole that's been left in their hearts, usually from neglect or abuse, one or the other. And that's a fact. And most of us don't get out unscathed. And I was one of the most compulsive people that I knew, and was struggled with more than one addiction and was in more than one 12-step program. I was in a, what do you call it? A hamster wheel of self-loathing and addiction for years. That was me. And it was what it was. But I realized everything I was looking for, everything I sought in every compulsive moment was always right here. And it was due to the great big hole that I had in my heart. And when I filled that hole with self-love, I no longer needed to seek it anywhere else. Now it's overflowing so much that I can sit here and talk to you guys for an hour and still have more to say. That's how it works, right? But most people don't give it a priority. So I'm encouraging you to give it a priority. Do the things you know are important for you and for your soul, whatever that means to you. Maybe that even means, like, I don't know, going to church. If that's your thing. That was never very fulfilling for me. I was just like, God, is this over yet? My God. But I was never good with the religion thing. But everyone has their own thing, right? So maybe you're part of an awesome church and they sing songs and they speak in tongues and they heal people. Maybe, of course, those are out there. You know, maybe it's one of the good ones. But you got to find something for you, and you got to find it daily. That's all I'm saying. That is a recipe for a happy existence. Everything else will leave you like John Coffey, tired. I'm tired, boss. Right, Bobby? Let me see. Dr. Oliver Sacks went through something similar. Oh, which led to his awakening. Yeah. Love you too, Bobby. Thank you, man. Listen, you guys, polymath agree on. Let me see. Polymath said, sorry. The writing is so small. That's why when they told me I needed meds, because I have ADD, I said, yeah, I have a problem focusing. Keep your meds. I'll learn to focus. Jerry, you're a wise soul, my friend. What do they say that ADD is? It's actually a greater ability to focus, but it's more of an open focus. You know, it's harder for some of us to stay dialed in. I mean, you know, like, it's funny that they make us go to school and they ask us to pay attention to complete nonsense being taught by people who aren't really passionate about teaching it. And then they wonder why we're like staring out the window like, he's got ADD, he's got a problem. No. The problem is with the system. You know, all these kids today, they say they have ADHD, give them a video game. They'll sit there for 4 hours. Their attention won't wane for a single second. They don't have ADD or ADHD. They're just bored with what you're teaching them. The nonsense they're being taught in school. Anyway, my friends, I'm just wrapping it up. Let me see. How about, oh man, I gotta get glasses. How about using psychedelics in an intentional way to reprogram? Specifically psilocybin in my case. Polymath, ask me what I did today. I woke up, I had breakfast, I ate a microdose gummy, and I ate a little bit of lion's mane to complement it. And then I meditated for an hour, and then I worked out for 25 minutes. And then I went and I got a haircut and I got a massage for a half hour because my back has been messed up and I've been meaning to get one for weeks. And I'm absolutely an advocate for microdosing. I've been microdosing for years. And what I love about psilocybin and microdosing is it allows for more neural connectivity in your mind. So I always tell people, listen, if you're trying to get from point A to point B, and the fastest distance between two lines is a straight line, then it's not cheating if you get the right map to get from A to B quickest. And in my opinion, using microdoses with intention is a fantastic way to reprogram. Because I'll tell you about an experiment I read. I can't remember where it's from, but they did this incredible experiment. They took a monk, a rabbi, a priest, and like a deacon. And it was an experiment with a microdose of psilocybin. And they asked them if they would volunteer, and all they had to do, they said, was, whatever you did on that day. So for the priest, it was say the mass and go through his day. For the monk, it was do his meditation, maybe teach his students. For the deacon, it was his thing. And then they monitored them, and every single one of them spoke about how inspired they felt, more inspired in their day. They felt more plugged in. They had a greater experience of doing what they always did. Why? Because if you looked at their minds, their hemispheres were communicating in ways that they did not typically do. And once you forge those neural pathways, then they're yours. You get to keep them. So that eventually, I go on and off. I don't just microdose every day, because then it wouldn't be, it would stop working, I think, as a microdose. But I go a couple days on, a couple days off. But what happens is, on the days I'm off, I have the same neural pathways are lighting up for me, because I forged them and I keep them going. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. So once you forge the neural pathways, they're yours, baby. You earned them. You just got to keep them going. And my meditations are, my meditations are just as profound. The way I hear music, it's all affected. So I'm an advocate of that. I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying that on YouTube, but I'm definitely an advocate of that. So I hope that answers your question, my friends. But I hope you guys enjoyed my live stream. For everyone listening on Spotify, if you're listening to this playback and you enjoyed it, please share it. And please let me know how you feel about it in the comments. And if you're watching on YouTube, or you're watching the replay, please make sure you subscribe and write us a review. And if you want to be a part, if you want to support my work more, I also have a Patreon page, guys. Patreon members get early access to all podcasts. This one, obviously, being streamed live, is not a candidate of it. And they also get early access to and full lifetime access to the uncensored versions of my podcasts, which would be so algorithmically incendiary that we could not air all of them. And I'm working on I have a few more guests coming up, which are definitely going to fall into that category. But the last few guests I've had have been very algorithmically friendly, thankfully. But we also have, this is a community of spiritually minded, freedom-loving individuals. And, if you want to support me, the Patreon page is easily found. There's a link in my IG bio. That's Far Out with Faust. And you can check it out. And we have some really cool customized merch for some of our upper tier members. And we're trying to build that community out. So thank you guys so much. Let's see, dude, I can't read. Dude, I foraged lion's mane. Oh, I foraged lion's mane and turkey tail today, making my own. Nice. That's amazing, Polly. That's awesome. Sorry it took me so long to read that. I love you guys. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll probably go live again tomorrow on Instagram, so I'll probably see some of you there. I hope everyone enjoyed the live stream. Much love to you all. Blessings to you guys.